Hey guys, welcome to my channel if you're new here. My name is Sydney and I am going... Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Sydney if you're new here, and I'm currently going through a 52 weeks of baking series where I publish a video every week. This week is week 7 and I'm making birthday cake cinnamon rolls. To get the dough started for our cinnamon rolls, we're going to heat up a cup of whole milk, full fat, not 2%, with some yeast and a little bit of sugar. So I'm going to heat the milk up first. A little bit of debris in my bowl. So my milk is warm, but I want to make sure it's about 100 degrees. So I'm going to check the temperature. Not 100 degrees. Okay, so our milk is warm. Add that to our bowl along with a tablespoon and a half of yeast and 2 tablespoons of sugar. And then we're just going to cover this now that we've whisked it together and let it sit for 5 minutes and allow that yeast to get activated so that we can use it for our dough. So I got a clean towel and we're going to cover this and let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. So while we let the yeast get activated for 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to soften some of this butter here for the rolls. Turns out I didn't do my due diligence and buy more butter. So to substitute for my missing butter, I'm going to add a little bit of oil to the bread, which can be used in baking a lot as a fat substitute when you don't have butter. Some people can use applesauce, bananas, but we need a fat source in the dough, so that's why I'm going to use the oil. Been 5 minutes, so let's see if our mixture has foamed up on top. It's looking good. Check it out. Now that this is foamed up, we're going to add in that butter and a little bit of oil that I was talking about, along with about 1/2 cup of sugar. And I'm just going to eyeball this about 2 tablespoons or so of the butter to make up for the butter that I don't have. You don't want to use equal parts, just about like 2/3 of the amount of butter that you need. Just going to combine this here together. The butter may not mix in entirely, but that's okay because you'll still get the aspects of the butter throughout the dough. There's still some pieces of butter that we can see visible throughout this mixture, which is okay. You can also make this dough in stand mixer, but I try not to get mine out if I don't have to because it's so heavy. And I prefer using a wooden spoon and making dough by hand because I can really tell when the dough is ready. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of salt, some vanilla, measure with the heart, and then 2 eggs. 2 eggs. I don't remember how many grams are in 1 cup of flour. King Arthur has a website that tells you. Don't think I remember this by the top of my head. An ingredient weight chart. Oh, 120 grams per cup of flour. So I'm going to start adding in flour. In total, probably use about 4.5 cups, 4 to 4.5. We don't add too much we don't add too much and make the dough dry out. I'm going to add 1 cup at a time and mix as I go. Cup number 3 going in. You see it's starting to come together and still those bits of butter are visible, but that's okay. It's just going to make the dough a little more richer once it finishes baking. It's an arm workout. Our last full cup. Make it a mess. You have me heavy breathing in this mic over here. That's mostly incorporated. I'm going to go ahead and add in just about 1/2 cup more, and then we'll start kneading the dough. So we have all this flour added to the dough, and it's ready because you see it's starting to pull away from the sides. That's a good indication that your dough is ready to start kneading the dough.
Is netting not kneading?
I don't know. Potato, potato. We're going to lightly flour my clean countertop, don't worry, and knead this dough. But first, I'm gonna put some gloves on because I don't like it on my hands. I'm gonna flip this out and knead the dough for about 5 minutes. Sounds like. I feel like a lot of people get intimidated with doughs like this, but you just gotta trust the process and don't rush it. Be patient. Let the bread tell you when it's ready. It's hot in here, which means the dough should rise good because you need a relatively warm environment for it to rise, or at least not take 10 years. You could also pop this dough, any dough really, into the fridge to rise. It can be a cold rise and it would take probably 4 hours compared to 1, but if you have to go away, do something, it's another alternative. Keep going. The dough will start to get a little soft to the surface. As you can see, it's not as sticky anymore. So we're almost there. So another way you can test to see if the dough is ready is to tear a little piece off and slowly stretch it out. And if light starts to pass through without tearing, it's ready, but it tore, so it's not ready yet. Keep kneading. You knead the dough, knead the dough, knead the dough. You make biscuits if you have a cat, you know what I mean? To activate the gluten that is in the bread. Once we finish kneading it, we let it rise. And then once it has risen and we roll it back out to shape the dough, we will let it sit again to give the gluten some rest. And that's about where my knowledge ends. Slowly bounces back. Now we're going to grease a clean mixing bowl with cooking spray. And then going to take our dough, coat it on all sides with this oil. This helps so it doesn't get stuck to the bowl as it rises. And then we're going to cover this with a clean towel and let it rise until it's doubled in size, which ideally should take about 2 hours. And I'm going to put it over here. It's been 2 hours. Our dough is doubled in size here. You want to take a little look? Roughly doubled in size. I'm going to punch this down and prep our baking pan that we're going to use. We're going to use a 13x9 pan. I'm just going to spray it a little bit to prep. Going to lightly flour our countertop again and start to roll out the dough. Gonna lightly flour the tops here and then our rolling pin. So for the filling for the birthday cake rolls, I'm going to use half a stick of butter and 2 tablespoons of the butter I'm going to use to mix with the birthday cake filling. And then we're going to use the rest here in a minute. So I'm going to melt 2 tablespoons and come back to this. For the filling for our birthday cake portion of the rolls, going to mix together flour, some brown sugar, regular sugar, sprinkles, and a few other things. I'm going to add in equal parts brown sugar and regular granulated sugar. The secret ingredient, in addition to sprinkles obviously, for it to be birthday cake rolls, is powdered milk. It's going to add that unique birthday cake flavor to the rolls that you wouldn't get otherwise. I only need about 2 tablespoons. I'm gonna add just a bit of salt and then stir this together. And then once this is combined, we're gonna add in a little bit of vanilla extract and then that melted 2 tablespoons of butter. And it's gonna be crumbly, and that's okay. That's what we want. For the last step of the filling mixture, before we start to assemble and put it into the rolls, we're going to add some rainbow sprinkles. Personally, I'm not a fan of sprinkles. They're just for aesthetics, but it's birthday. I'm gonna use half a cup. I had to buy this whole thing of sprinkles because it has to be a certain kind, not the nonpareils, or else they'll bleed into the dough. I wanted the little rainbow chips. If you've ever had like the box Funfetti cake mix, that's what those are in, but I couldn't find them. Okay, we're gonna set this aside, and I'm going to soften the rest of this butter, and then we're gonna spread it onto the dough. We have our melted butter, and I'm just going to pour it onto the dough. Going to spread this melted butter over the dough, and then we're gonna sprinkle the cinnamon and then cover it with the birthday cake mixture that we made. And my butter is running over my edges. Now we're going to spread some cinnamon on top of that butter that we just spread out. I'm making the executive decision to add more. Now we're gonna add our birthday cake mixture on top of the cinnamon and butter here. Just gonna smooth it out just a little bit. It's a little more even as I roll. Now I'm going to start to roll our dough now that we have all of our fillings added. I want to make sure that this is a super tight roll, or else birthday cake is going to be an explosion. Pull it towards me. Now for the hard part. Now we have our dough rolled up into our log. I'm going to cut it into even pieces for our rolls. I'm going to use my scraper here. I don't know what that proper term for this is, but I'm gonna calculate here and make little indentions so I try to get it as even as possible. We got our measurements laid out. So we have it rolled out. They're a little squished, but I'm gonna roll them up a little bit before we place them in our pan to even them back out into that circle. I feel like I might want to use a smaller pan since I chose to make these a little bigger, so it didn't make as many cinnamon rolls, birthday cake cinnamon rolls. But I think it'll be okay because I'm going to let these rise again for another hour, and they're gonna puff up pretty big in this pan here. So some of them are a little bigger than others because the ends, you know, we didn't have as much dough in them, but that's okay. Trial and error. We're going to leave these in the pan for another hour to rise again, and they should puff up, and we'll throw them in the oven after that. So now the rolls have risen for another hour or so, and you can see they're a little bit more puffier this time than they were when we left them last. So we're gonna pop them in the oven at 350 for about 30 minutes or so. Our birthday cake rolls are out of the oven. What do you think? They're huge. I'm going to take one out and frost it instead of frosting all of them at once. And this is our cream cheese frosting that we made earlier. And now we top with some more sprinkles just for looks. This is a giant roll that could be shared with multiple people. You can see the cinnamon and the birthday cake. It's better than I expected. I thought it was gonna be too sweet from the cinnamon and the birthday cake, but it's pretty good. These are great cinnamon rolls if your kids or friends, family, whoever you're baking a cake for or celebrating a birthday for doesn't like cake. Make them these cinnamon rolls. Tell them they have to try them. They're perfect for the occasion. If you guys enjoyed watching this video, please like and subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned next week as we make a Great British Bake Off style pudding.